Hey guys, welcome back to Newswave. Now, there was a lot of stuff that happened yesterday in the news, some very interesting stuff, so let's just get started. Now, you probably heard me start to laugh a little bit, and that's because we did get a really good look from some leaked internal documents from Intel. They almost look like memos back and forth between Ubisoft staff, kind of either hyping each other up or talking about their plans for it. Of course, this is for Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and you probably saw this floating around all over the place yesterday. If you have not seen it, here are the stills that I'm talking about. And it's, well, it's interesting. For the first thing I want to note about this is it looks very different. Of course, he's using a Mega Buster right on the front there. I think that's pretty much indisputable, which obviously points to a Mega Man crossover at some point. But silliness aside, it looks different. Let me go from there and let's jump over to some other screens, see like their roster that they have set up here with Peach, Luigi, Yoshi, Mario, and then you have Rabbids all dressed up, almost like cosplaying each one of them. It's very interesting to see them use the term the Badass Princess, but again, I think these are internal documents, so I wouldn't expect that to be on any of the marketing in the public eye. Down from there, they kind of divide up and tell us how it's going to play, which you'll see here at this still where it says there's exploration is 35%, where you have 4 world environments to discover, which I assume are just different worlds. Maybe you have like an ice world and like I don't know, a lava world. It's hard to say what exactly they mean there. And then of course it talks about how you're not directly controlling the different characters. You're more controlling what is essentially, from what I can tell, a cursor that is moving them around. Maybe more like kind of like how a strategy RPG would operate, where you click and move them that way, like in not completely like in Disgaea, but maybe they run around to whatever cursor you're controlling, which again sounds interesting. Down from there, puzzle, secret zones, sure, and then a bunch of Easter eggs apparently. From there, they have turn-based combat, which is what we've expected for a while now. It looks like there's gonna be a lot of combat going on, so you're not going to be exploring as much as you are battling. So I really hope that they have some sort of leveling and skill development system set up here. But down from there, you have unique heroes, sure, tactical options where you're doing team jumps, warp pipes, destructible covers. That one sounds interesting. Maybe you hide behind different things like rocks, and they can, of course, destroy them. Maybe ice, glaciers, boulder parts, and they destroy them with fire or something. Hard to say. They do say you get collectible and upgradable weapons. Great. Multiplayer co-op, which is very interesting to me. I like this whole trend of co-op going on with the Switch, because that is one of my favorite things, is to be able to play a game with someone else in the same room. I think we've really lost touch with that, but that's, again, a whole nother topic for another discussion. Now, they have an interesting still here, which I thought was kind of funny, where they kind of write up a timeline, like a picture book for their employees, which is weird, but it does show, like, June, they're going to surprise us with an announcement. Oh, well, that worked. July, they're going to convince media and gamers. All right. And then they're going to go big for launch in August. This does tell us it looks like they're looking for an August launch, which is sooner than I thought. But if you keep in mind, Nintendo seems to be going for like hit after hit leading up to Christmas time. So we know at this point, of course, we're leading up to ARMS. Then we're leading up to Splatoon. Apparently, then we're going to lead up to Mario Rabbids Kingdom, which is great. That's good to have this like 1, 2, 3, and then who knows what's happening in September. Maybe Xenoblade is in September? Maybe even like a Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, although they do seem like they're doing first party. We already know Mario Odyssey is probably either in November or December, so they need more stuff leading up to it. I mean, maybe Shin Megami is in there. We already know Xenoblade is supposedly coming out this year, so maybe that's going to make a September launch window and kind of fill that out. But we still don't know if there's any other announcements coming up. Then, of course, we're still waiting for Fire Emblem Warriors. It looks like they're trying to piece everything together so we get bunch of releases, no real gaps, which is the way it needs to be. Good job there. Again, this is just an internal document. That could also mean that maybe it gets pushed to like a September or October. Who knows? Just right now, it looks like they're going big for August, but they did a great job surprising us, so good for them. I do like the box art, though. It looks good. It's very colorful, very unique looking. But yeah, it says release date August, September, somewhere in there. Could be late August, could be early September. They may not know completely where it's going to fall, depending on distribution and where Nintendo is at that time with their releases. So it'll be very interesting. Do give us a 20-hour story mode length. That's great. That's really good, actually, because a lot of people either want really long stories or they get mad at short stories. That seems like that would fit perfectly in there. Of course, the Snowdrop engine is there as well, as we've talked about previously, because that showed up a little while ago in information. So that's interesting to see how it's going to look and perform, considering something like The Division runs on that same engine. So let me give you guys my take on this entire game. A lot of people are already writing this whole thing off as being gimmicky and dumb. And really, I think we should give it a chance. I'm going to explain to you guys why we should give it a chance. So I've told you guys I go back a good ways in gaming on the internet. I was very young on the internet. I probably shouldn't have been allowed on the internet when I was as young as I was, but I was there for a couple things. I was there when Mario RPG was being shown off in Nintendo Power, and at that time I wasn't talking about it on the internet, I was talking about my very young friends, and we thought it was dumb looking because at the time you had a very weird looking Mario, a weird looking puppet guy, which shouldn't be in Geno, and then of course the guy that we kept calling a marshmallow. So from there though, when I was a little older, I was on different forums and of course message boards through AOL, and when GeoCities were around, we would kind of leave little posts and we made fun of Paper Mario because we thought it was the dumbest thing to mix Mario and paper. And then if you remember the commercials, they would do things like hoist Peach over, say, a shredder, where Bowser was holding over a shredder, and I was like, this is so stupid. How are they going to make Mario a piece of paper and get away with it? And guess what? They did. It was one of my favorite games in Paper Mario on the Nintendo 64. So from that time, from those experiences, those two, I have learned, you know what? Give it a chance. If it's a weird looking game, you never know. And in this case, I will give it a chance. I will let them see what they can do with it, where they go with it, and I will play it for myself and then judge. If it's terrible, you know what? I gave it a shot. If it's great though, I'll be glad that I did not discount it right away and maybe skip over it for something else, only to go back to it in years down the road and say, man, I wish I had played this game sooner. So my advice to you guys is go in with an open mind. Try it. If you want to borrow it from someone, do that. Go over and play. It has co-op. You can go over if you know someone who has it, and you guys can play it together. If you have a roommate, you guys can go on, on it together and play it together. At least give it a chance. Watch some Twitch streamers. I don't know, but I wouldn't write it off right now, right away, because the Rabbids are in it. I know a lot of people don't like them. Give it a chance. Oh, that was a long topic. Thanks for sticking with me. It was probably the biggest leak, obviously, of the day, but let's jump from there over to some interesting stuff, especially if you're on Xbox Live, guys. You want to keep an eye on your account, because right now, there is a Chinese site that is hacking. They're completely hacking people's accounts and stealing money. And I saw this pop up on one of my notifications on my phone because The Verge posted it up everywhere pretty much. Once The Verge posted it, everyone started picking this up, and that is that a Chinese site that you buy things like FIFA points, obviously, so you can do things in FIFA where you buy your card packs and all that stuff. They were selling these points extremely cheap. And I think for a while people were suspicious of the site because they would do so. They would sell you something that usually cost like $120 something for like $60. They were like half off. And that's digital currency. The site confused a lot of people. Well, it turns out they were stealing money from people's accounts, locking them out of their account, using their credit card in time, buying the points, then sending them to people who are sending them money. This site is called IG Sky. And according to Microsoft, this junky website, I'm just gonna say junky, there's a lot of other words I could choose. This junky, terrible website has stolen over $2 million from Xbox Live customers by really breaking their account, stealing their credit card, using it, locking them out of their account. So by the time they get back in there, they've already sold those points. $2 million though in in-game purchases with other people's credit cards, guys. So how did they find out about this? Well, Microsoft has an in-house like fraud investigation division pretty much. Most companies have these to kind of keep an eye on things like their website. If there's a lot of traffic that goes through there, they are supposed to pretty much be loss prevention for the internet for that side. And what they did was they pretty much became suspicious of this site because they were selling the currency so cheap. So they made like an 11,000 point purchase through the website, which was the big thing that tipped them off, for $60. And they noticed very quickly that an 8-year-old account for Xbox Live had an email password change. So it, of course, changed the password. An email got sent to them. It went through that, changed the password, used the active credit card on that account to then buy 11,000 points, and then it sent those 11,000 points to that account that Microsoft bought from. And it was like $127, and they sold it to Microsoft's loss prevention person for $60, which is pretty damning evidence, I think, right there, that they can do this. So they went ahead, filed the lawsuit, said, look, we got you. That's it. But the problem is they're going to have a very hard time now even getting this website down because it's a Chinese website. They don't technically go by our laws, whether it's in the United States with Microsoft. It's going to be very difficult to get them out of there, but they can at least close their PayPal accounts down. And that's where obviously the money goes back and forth, is on their PayPal. Either way, that's very scary stuff. They can't seem to figure out how they are getting people's information. They just are. So be very careful with your Xbox Live account. Consider, right now anyway, taking your credit card off of your account. I know it's a pain because you have to go and buy like currency cards. just right now consider taking your card off just in case, because they are going crazy with $2 million in purchases. That's a lot. So be very careful. At least keep an eye on your account. Maybe consider changing your password again. I don't know. Just keep an eye out there, guys, because there's some scary stuff right now on Xbox Live. And guys, last bit of news has to deal with ARMS, which is obviously the upcoming new IP from Nintendo that is coming up pretty quick. Next month we'll have it. Looks like we now know the file size. It's going to be 2.2 gigabytes in size, which is surprising. Now, we're all used to, at this point anyway, we're all used to having massive file sizes, especially with things like the PS4, the Xbox One. And to see something that's 2.2 gigs being a full-fledged game like ARMS is amazing. Now, I will say there are some things to ARMS that may be making it smaller. For example, there's no large, like, open world type things that maybe has to be compressed or changed or anything. Keep in mind, these are smaller arenas that you're fighting in. It's nothing crazy in terms of world size. So that may have something to do with it. But otherwise, I'm very happy. 2.2 gigabytes is very manageable. Even if you don't have an SD card, that'll fit perfectly on internal storage, even if you have other games installed. But from there, we also saw some control schemes from Edge Magazine, who kind of went over the controls a little more detail. Remember how we talked about before how the single Joy-Con was kind of talked about, where they were saying, oh, it's not good, you don't really have much of an advantage. Well, they brought out more control schemes, and it looks like it may be the same for things like the Pro Controller. So here's the Pro Controller layout right here, and it's a little confusing to me because it looks like the right stick is not used at all. Now, you can see where they use the punches, where you use right and left punch for the standard buttons there, but if you go to the back triggers, they did say you can change the buttons for punches left and right to the back two triggers. And that's great, but I was a little confused why the right stick is not used, because I can't seem to figure out how you were supposed to curve your punches. And that was something I was concerned about before with the single Joy-Con. I can't see how you're supposed to do this, but if it's designed specifically for motion controls like they have said, I don't have a problem with this, because that just means people will have to use motion controls if they want to do a little more with their punches. I'm also not sure how you do things like uppercuts or anything like that. None of that seems to be detailed here. Now, maybe there is a second screen that we're missing here that's like advanced setup or advanced controls, or just techniques that you learn when you play it in like a tutorial mode, but I'm just not seeing anything right away here. Now, I would also like to move the guard to something like L, or like the left bumper, because I don't really want to click in the move button to guard. I think I'd be a little more comfortable there, but maybe there's a chance to customize all the controls, and maybe this is just jumping to conclusions here. I'm hoping you can move some of the buttons around, maybe not all of them, some of them though, because I could see a few ways this could be a little better comfort-wise. Overall though, I'm more than happy to use the motion controls to play around with this, and you know what, if I just want to sit down and maybe just play a few games of ARMS, not competitively of course, I'm fine with the standard buttons like that, just being left and right punch. You know, I'll get over it. It looks like the game is a lot of fun. I'll probably just play basketball most times anyway. And that's it for Newswave today, guys. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know what you think about any of the topics we talked about here, whether it is the big Mario Rabbids leak. Maybe you're a little skeptical of the game, or maybe you're all in here. Maybe you're like, wow, this looks awesome. I'm in. Let me know what you think about these interesting ARMS controls. Again, it looks like, from what I can tell right now, there may not be a way to curve the punches with the standard button layout. Maybe you have to get to the motion controls and we got to get up and move around a little bit. But I do like the file size. That is an awesome file size. That's it for now, guys. I will see you next time.